Hi, it's Sandra from MyHana. I'm a speech therapist and I'm also the mom of a young adult with autism. Thanks for tuning in and turning on this great webinar about transitional planning and social skills. And as we all know, social skills are important for everybody, and it is the elephant in the room and can really inhibit your chances of success, whether you're on the spectrum or not. So let's dive in and see what we can learn here. So, what do we mean by social skills? Social skills can be best understood by how we navigate the world. They help us get our needs met out in the community. So, if you go up and scream at somebody to get your needs met, you might get socked in the face, for example, as we all know. So, if you don't have those skills, you can't get your needs met. You may get treated poorly. And this is something that we all need as we grow up, and we have to more overtly teach to people on the spectrum because they may just not be getting it by reading visual cues or not understanding it for a variety of reasons. And some of those reasons, because you live it with your loved one with autism or you've studied this. Um, so let's learn more about this. Just that you know, and I'm sure you've realized social skills are complicated, they're fluid, they change a lot. It's really hard for everybody. Um, so let's say if you're an adult with autism, you want to know, hey, what are these rules? And some of them seem basic, but they can vary culture by culture too. So you want people to show you respect and you want independence. So if you don't have the right social skills, it's hard to get that. There is little potential for distinction between who they are and their status as a person with ASD. So a person with ASD, that's part of who they are. It's not all of who they are, but people don't always distinguish that. Um, and it's not okay. You should say hello or thank you, but you don't use it appropriately too. People with ASD tend to be socially isolated, and they may feel lonely. And it would be nice if people who were quote unquote neurotypical would be more empathetic toward those who aren't neurotypical. I think that's changing for the better, and we're going to keep trying through MyHana to do that and through our own lives. So the increasing demands of the social world are, first of all, you need to have good social skills at home, at work, in the community, and social demands beyond the community. Um, Now, our lowest demand would be at home because, well, we learn those rules at home. We feel more relaxed and safe. We know what's acceptable. And people tend to be, in general, more tolerant of your behavior at home because they know you and love you. Not always the case, but you know what I mean here. Um, Now, social demands of work would be higher, but some of the rules are somewhat scripted. Like you should always, let's say, be polite to somebody like your boss. You should be polite to everybody, but you would be more polite and more careful in that setting. Um, and if you're very good at your job or you're being productive, people should be treating you better as well. But if you're out in the community at large, that's more unpredictable, and it could cause a breakdown in communication and social skills because you, of course, have less control of what's going on around you. Now, the world beyond the community, um, let's say you're in a different country, that's beyond your familiar community. You may be breaking all kinds of social norms in a different community and not even know it. So you may lack those skills and not get your needs met. We've all experienced this. And I used to live in South America. And in where at the time I lived there, if you asked for directions, it was considered polite for the person you asked to tell you something. That didn't mean they were giving you the correct information, but to say I don't know was considered not polite. I had to learn to say, if you don't know, it's okay. I'm not offended if you don't know how to get there. Otherwise, I could be walking blocks in the wrong way. But, I don't want to digress, but that is a social skill that I had to learn. So the challenges of adequate social instructor support, as we know, it's still a challenge, even though there's some wonderful programs out there. Um, but it's still very hard to find the correct match that might work the best for you, and it might change over time. As we all know, autism is a spectrum disorder, so social skills will vary. Social skills instructions vary, but they should be empirically based and should be implemented accurately. So if they're done wrong, you'll think the system doesn't work, but maybe they were implemented incorrectly. And there's could be failures on the part of the instructor or teacher to do this. There are many challenges. Um, so since there's a large array of, let's say, people's social competence, we might be entering the instruction at a level too high or low for the person, and we need to change with the person. Um, some social skills instruction involves both when and when not to do something, when to use it, when and how to read the cues people give you. And that can be very confusing for the learner. It is important that social skills instruction be geared toward the learner and implemented with 100% accuracy. So failure on the part of the instructor to adequately assess a social demand means they might be not teaching it adequately. Um, Also, some instructors are so busy with everything else they're doing, they don't prioritize this. They think it's not important. So failure on the part of the instructor to provide examples or to help a person learn these skills, once again, it becomes a failure to the person we're trying to teach, or they may not get it. Um, because we all need a little support. But there are some things that can be done, and we're going to learn about them. Um, Let me get back to the right slide here. So there are types of social skills, those that are absolutely necessary, preferred, and marginal. And these are skills that if you don't have, you can't be really independent. It might be a social survival skill. A preferred skill supports independence, but it might not be critical, and marginal skills which are valuable can be negotiable. People might overlook something. So necessary and preferred and marginal skills, this is a great chart here that gives an example. If you're riding mass transit, you need to be able to wait. You need to be able to wait appropriately and not have a fit about waiting. You need to be able to get on the bus and select a seat, and the seat might have very little space, and that's a preferred skill. A marginal skill might be selecting a seat or a row with appropriate proximity to other passengers. So like it's a skill, for example, my son uses mass transit on his own, and I see him get on the bus, he'll greet the driver, show his card, and sit down, and I never see him have a problem. But if you just kind of barge in and let's say you sit next to somebody and don't give them any space, it could cause a problem for you. Um, so a necessary skill would be waiting and then trying to choose your seat yourself. Um, and a marginal skill would be, let's say you really don't like to sit next to people. Could you put a row between you and the person in front of you? Now that's marginal, and you can't always get that done. And here's another example of necessary, preferred, and marginal. If you're having lunch with coworkers, it is necessary to eat neatly, period. Use a knife, fork, and spoon appropriately. So if you're putting your face in your food, if you're spitting, if you're throwing food, okay, obviously you're not going to make it there. So that has to be taught. Now, a marginal skill, a preferred skill would be responding appropriately to communications during lunch. So that could become necessary too. So this is fluid. Marginals in initiating this interaction with your coworkers. Another example would be hallway greetings. You should respond to greetings from coworkers, and the necessary would be just acknowledging, like a head nod or something. Preferred is to orient briefly toward the person and offer an acknowledgement, and marginal in that area would be to acknowledge and answer the greeting and use the person's name. So these can be broken down into steps and be taught more overtly to people as needed. So here's some social skills chart here. There's different kinds of assessments. So a demand assessment is when the instruction mirrors an actual environmental demand in a particular situation. You can role play, which means as literally rehearsing. Social stories or scripts They provide a written lesson plan for a particular social situation. There's some really good material out there on this. I've used this professionally, where you literally teach a person, okay, we're going to go out to the playground, and you make a story around it, and this is what happened to the character, and then you role play yourself in it as well, but you practice it and read it to a client. Power cards involves the development of social stories or scripts that directly involve that. Um, and it involves the learner's personal interest to help increase their engagement and power of that intervention. Social fluency is instruction that requires attention not just to a particular skill, but also the timing with which the skills should be used. Direct instruction and visual modeling are also good methods. I'm going to move my picture so we can all look together. Self-monitoring involves providing the individual learner with specific strategies to kind of figure out, is this working for me? It may involve counters, checks each timers, and so they can monitor. And also metacognitive strategies, like thinking about what you're doing, focuses more on teaching social problem solving. So these are all different ways to teach, and they can be used on their own, separately, or together. And more information on this, for example, with demand assessment requires that instruction mirrors the environment, and so that the social skills with the greatest functional relevance are taught first. With role playing, you're rehearsing, as I said earlier. It should be done with the real environment and but yet practiced in a variety of circumstances and conditions. So what you learn gets transferred to different situations. And practice until it becomes fluent. And on occasion, you may have to go back and revisit skills earlier in case they get lost or forgotten. Social skill stories, which were popularized by Carol Gray, are really nice. They have scripts and lesson plans. Oftentimes, social stories will be focused on a skill development. For example, I'm going to get a haircut. I'm going to ride on an airplane, excuse me. Power cards, which were developed by Gagnon in 2001, involved the development of social stories or scripts that directly involved the individual's personal interest to increase the power of the instruction. So if a learner with ASD likes a particular movie or a particular character in that movie, you can include that in the script. That'll hold your person's attention better. Social fluency instruction requires attention not just the skill you're teaching, but also the timing of use. Direct instruction and video modeling, and there's a lot of good video models out there. Miles and Southwick 1999 discussed direct instruction as a viable method to teach this. They have a sequence of how and why you would act this way. They present it in an active multimodal way in various ways by watching and listening and practicing. And then you verify if your learner understands the model that they saw. And then can that learner generalize what they've learned? And then, of course, self-monitoring involves providing the individual learner with specific strategies. And can they look at what's going on, and is this working? And you would try to use it with other strategies. And metacognitive strategies, or learning to learn, as we all have to do, focuses on teaching how to problem solve. And there's different programs for this, one called SOCCS, Situation, Options, and Consequences, Choices, Strategies, Simulations. This is by Rosa in 1995. Stop, think, options, and pick. So you can review this again and look at these programs and see which might work for you or could be of use. When using skills, using naturalistic strategies are typically the most effective. So in social skills instruction, you focus on those skills that are used most often, generate the most individual payback, get the bang for your buck, you know what I'm saying here, generate the biggest payback. Instruction on social skills that are infrequently used or for which the payback is less, well, that's not going to work as well as you can imagine. And it's, even if they're more particularly challenging to the individual, you want to go with what's easiest first and, let's say, build up to that. Naturalistic strategies are the most effective. Effective social skills instruction and goal development needs to take place throughout the day, in particular outside the context of instructional settings, so that, let's say you can behave in the classroom, but you can't behave on a bus, or you can't behave at the grocery store. As you know, that would be a problem. So you need to look for opportunities throughout the day to promote and reinforce social competence and approximations, and to develop new skills. It is important to train all stakeholders, or everybody who's interacting, let's say in the school, as social skills are bidirectional. So if you've got a teacher who's not participating for a variety of reasons, this isn't helping your kid. You've got to pay attention to both sides of the interaction. So while we want to support our learners and our loved ones on the spectrum, let's really try to support the teachers and even the therapists. As a therapist, I might have more skills. It doesn't mean I'm always doing this appropriately. So we all need refreshers, and we all need to monitor ourselves and help each other. So there's a lot to learn on social instruction, and we're all trying to do this together. MyHana has more information on this, so please come look at our website at myhana.org. Thank you for watching. I'm Sandra Alexander, mom of somebody who's 18 on the spectrum and a speech therapist. Bye-bye.